John, before we dig into even further into your scouting career, I want to go back to Ann Arbor just very briefly. Those of us of a certain age remember when Tom Brady was there, was kind of sharing a job with a guy named Drew Henson, who was your classic traits, tools guy. I think he was a third round pick by the Yankees. Very accomplished as a baseball player as well. But Brady could never really wrench that job away from him permanently. If Drew Henson had not been there, do you think Tom Brady gets recognized maybe more so on the college side and goes a little higher than the sixth round, or is he just the classic will himself to achieve kind of guy to where he just built himself up and he really was a sixth rounder coming out of Michigan but just became the guy we all know who he is now?
I don't know if his career would have started much different. We were still a good football team that year. We beat a really good Alabama team in the Orange Bowl. Sean Alexander, Chris Samuels, Freddie Millens. They were they were great players in the NFL too. I think if I remember correctly, Tom did end up being the starter for the second half of that season after we lost up at Michigan State. But I think for Tom, I just think he probably learned a ton through that, and it certainly pissed him off. He's been pretty upfront about that too. I mean, the 199 is, we hear about it all the time still. I mean, it's 199. I mean, it's like all the great athletes. There's a chip that they find and that they hold on to, and that one's pretty easy for him to remember. And would it have gone different for him? I don't know. He had a pretty good season in '98, and then a pretty good season in 20 or 1999. Maybe if he would have run faster than 5.24 or something like that, he would have been better off. But I think it's all part of his journey and his story. And I think with Tom, what you learn is those guys that harness that stuff and they take the adversity and they take it in stride and they look it in the eye and then they use it as fuel and motivation as opposed to kind of sit in it and wallow in it. That's going to destroy you in whatever you're doing in life. But that's not who he is at his core. And I think ultimately would have shown up and maybe he would have gone a little bit higher, but I don't think he would change it either.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, you kind of referenced it with those Cleveland years. They were some lean years on the win side, but again, you're learning all along the way. You're taking lessons from every draft, every free agency process, every evaluation you're doing. Again, you parlay that into years in Denver, a lot of success. Of course, Tampa, you guys win a best draft award. Guys win a Super Bowl, to where all of a sudden now you're sitting here as the general manager of, again, one of the iconic franchises in the NFL. Again, that is a lot of lessons learned over 10, 15, 13, 14 years that brought you here. Talk about those final years as you continue to gain experience and now start winning some games. Again, you learn lessons in different ways. Talk about the time leading up to where you're sitting now.
Well, I had the best time in Tampa working with Jason. He's one of my best friends in this industry, and he's as good of a person as you'll ever find working in the NFL too. And I think you got to go back to about 2017 when we felt like, if you go back to 16, the first year I got there, we went 9-7 and we lost a tiebreaker to the Lions for the sixth playoff spot. And we lost it on like the sixth tiebreaker of the tiebreaker. So, we came up obviously one game short of having a chance to play for it all, or at least be in the dance to play for it all. And we kind of chased that a little bit as opposed to building the team. And we had a pretty real conversations with ourselves, led by Jason, and all the top directors were involved. And we really tried to figure out like what's important. What do we want to be here? What does a Buccaneer want to be? And that's when Jason's talked a lot about it. We came up with that "I am that man" moniker that they still really hold dear there. And we were able to build a team in the next couple years there that lured the greatest quarterback of all time of all places to come to Tampa. And obviously, once you do that and you win a Super Bowl and a best draft, which those two coincidentally went right together, you realize that you're onto something. And so our goal was just to keep doing that and surrounding ourselves and the entire organization with high quality people that love football and whatever they did, players, scouting, coaching. That was paramount to us. And, all under the direction of Jason, who I know you guys have a lot of respect for, because he's a scout at his heart too. I mean, he's a purist. And, those were some of the best times in my life. To win a Super Bowl and then to win 4 straight division titles was I'll always be proud of that.